never intended to steal someone else's idea. It just happened. It started as an ordinary day at work when my colleague Ryan excitedly shared an idea during a casual coffee break. He had come up with an innovative marketing strategy, one that could skyrocket our department's reputation. I listened, nodding along, but in the back of my mind, something dark stirred. His idea was brilliant, yet he wasn't the most vocal in meetings. He struggled to articulate his thoughts in front of management, and I was the opposite. The temptation slithered into my mind like a whisper. What if I presented it first? What if I made it mine? The opportunity was right there. I convinced myself it was just borrowing the concept, tweaking it a little and making it my own. But deep down, I knew what I was about to do was wrong. The next day, I walked into the conference room with a confidence I didn't deserve. The team gathered, and our manager, Mr. Thornton, asked for new ideas. My heart pounded as I raised my hand, standing up to present my idea. Words flowed effortlessly from my lips, and I played it off as something I had been working on for weeks. Heads nodded in approval. Even Mr. Thornton seemed impressed. Across the room, Ryan sat frozen. His face went pale, his eyes flickering with realization. The guilt should have hit me then, but the applause drowned it out. I basked in the validation, the admiration. For the first time in months, I felt like I was finally on top. But at what cost? At first, everything was perfect. The project was greenlit, and my reputation soared. But as weeks passed, I noticed the way Ryan avoided me. The friendly banter we once shared was gone, replaced by cold indifference. One evening, I caught him in the break room, staring at me with quiet resentment. "You know that was my idea," he finally said, voice tight with anger. I tried to brush it off, feigning ignorance. "Ideas belong to the company once they're shared," I replied weakly. But the weight of my actions settled heavily on my shoulders. Ryan's eyes burned with disappointment before he turned away. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the truth. Word spread like wildfire. At first, it was subtle. A few coworkers whispering when I walked by, stolen glances during meetings. Then the murmurs became louder. "Did you hear? That wasn't his idea." I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that as long as management believed me, nothing else mattered. But paranoia clawed at my mind. I began to overcompensate, throwing in unnecessary details in follow-up meetings, trying to prove my knowledge. Ryan, on the other hand, remained eerily quiet. He didn't argue, didn't lash out, he just watched. It was worse than if he had confronted me. Ryan had had enough. He waited until the office cleared out one evening before approaching me. "I'm not going to let you get away with this," he said, his voice calm but sharp. I forced a laugh. "Let it go, Ryan. It's just work." But his eyes were filled with something I hadn't expected. Determination. "It wasn't just work for me," he said. "It was mine." His words hit harder than I expected. I had stolen more than an idea. I had stolen his moment, his trust, his confidence. And I wasn't ready to face that yet. I thought I could keep my lie under control, but it started consuming me. Every email, every presentation, every mention of my brilliant strategy felt like another weight on my shoulders. I barely slept. I avoided eye contact. I flinched whenever my name was called in meetings. And then the worst moment of all, Mr. Thornton announced that I was being considered for a promotion because of my initiative. My stomach churned. The applause that followed sounded hollow. Across the room, Ryan's face was unreadable, but his absence of reaction spoke volumes. I should have known it wouldn't last. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply buried. One morning, an email thread started circulating, an old time-stamped document of Ryan's original proposal. Someone had leaked it. Within hours, my inbox was flooded with messages. Some colleagues were passive-aggressive, others outright furious. Mr. Thornton called me into his office, disappointment heavy in his gaze. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" he asked. My mouth went dry. I had no defense. The meeting was brutal. I wasn't fired, but I might as well have been. The promotion was off the table, and my credibility was shattered. Ryan never had to say a word. The truth spoke for itself. I expected him to gloat, to throw my failure in my face, but he didn't. He just packed up his things and left the office early. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my reflection in the window. Who had I become? Was a fleeting moment of success worth this? The next day, I did something I should have done long ago. I told the truth. I sent an email to the entire team admitting my deception and crediting Ryan. It didn't change much. The damage was done, but at least it was mine to own now. Ryan replied with only 2 words, "About time." And that was it. No lecture, no anger, just quiet acknowledgement. I realized then that the real punishment wasn't losing my reputation. It was knowing that I had betrayed someone who had once trusted me. I wish I could say everything went back to normal, but it didn't. My career took a hit. Some people forgave me, others never spoke to me again. Ryan eventually left the company for a better opportunity, one he earned on his own. And me, I had to rebuild myself from scratch. I stopped cutting corners. I learned the hard way that success means nothing if it's built on a lie. Every time I see a new idea now, I think of Ryan. And I remind myself that the easiest path is rarely the right one.